Welcome back. This is the Indie Basketball Podcast. This is where indie rock meets the NBA's finest. And today on the pod, I am joined by Devin McCluskey, who makes music under the name of Devlin The Harm. He's a Clippers fan, but we did a lot of talk about the NBA playoffs here, just breaking down both series and kind of what to expect going forward. Devlin is an indie folk musician who's kind of an all-around hoops fan. But yeah, we talk about playoffs. It's kind of a good conversation. We really riff a bunch. He has a new album out that just came out. Make sure to check it out. It is Devlin and The Harm. But before we get to our conversation, I want to talk about some live music because going to concerts is awesome. And I, last week, was able to attend one of the Twin Peaks reunion shows in Chicago. And I tried to really figure out if everyone loves Twin Peaks or if it's just, this hyper local popularity that they seem to have achieved. Because these shows were crazy. They sold out 8 nights at Chicago's Talia Hall, which is a pretty decent sized venue. 8 nights sold out. They just kept adding dates. I know Jeff Rosenstock did something similar last year. Sold out 8 nights. By the time they finished last week, they added a 9th night where they did 2 shows. So they did a total of 10 shows in that stretch. Absolutely insane. I did not know they were that popular to be able to do that. But after going to the show on Tuesday, VV Lightbody opened. It was incredible. Honestly, one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to. It's just so high energy every single night. I see clips online the following day, and everyone is just so into it. It's just that truly communal experience where everyone is jumping, everyone is singing. It's just like a big party for 9 straight nights, and it's so amazing. The crowd never quits. It was so loud. I've never heard. It's almost like the audience was trying to compete with the band, and not in a bad way, not like talking over them. It's like it all felt like the audience was part of the band. It's truly rare when it feels like that. The visuals were all done like kind of live and unique every day. They had a kind of an old school projector, like a classroom projector that they had objects, and they would draw and they would layer these things and change the colors of them. It was really cool. What a show, though. I mean, Twin Peaks are a band that I never truly got to embrace as they were a band. I only really got into them towards the end, and they broke up. And it was awesome. It was such a amazing experience. Jeff Tweedy came out for the encore, and they played Spider's Kid Smoke together. It's one of those things that it just kept going and going, and it was like sometimes, being in my mid to late 30s, sometimes it feels like concerts are tough. I know a lot of you know that feeling. And I at the end of this Twin Peaks show, it flew by. Yes, it's tough standing like that, but by the end of the show, I just didn't want it to end. I was ready for the encore to just keep going. Seeing Jeff Tweedy out there was so great. I'd really mean it. It might be one of the most fun shows I've ever been to. Really up there with Hotelier and Foxing, which I saw at the same venue a couple years ago. But it was just pure joy. And sad it's over. I don't know if they're going to do anything again. I know they're playing a festival in September out in California, I think. But if they make music again, that'll be great. But otherwise, they have a lot of great albums already. And, I learned a lot about them. They came up in Chicago as just teenagers. A thing I learned out in preparation for the show is that a few of the band members, they went to the Jones Prep High School alongside with Chance the Rapper. And some of the members of the band got suspended for the same thing that Chance did, for having weed at school. And that is the subject for Chance's 10-day mixtape, which they were part of that. They knew each other, which is wild to think that Chance the Rapper and Twin Peaks are kind of, they know each other, which is, it's never thought that would happen. But yeah, they're Chicago legends, and I think they will stay legends after doing this. So it was a great show. I hope they have the opportunity to play elsewhere so you can all experience it too. Otherwise, I think they have the live shows online for you to watch. But that's really what I wanted to talk about. Concerts are in such a tough place. Live music's in a tough place, and it's really hard for bands to tour, to do all this. So if you have the opportunity, you got to go to live shows, and you never know if you're going to get the best show of your life. It could happen. But that's all on that. I want to get to our conversation with Devlin, and where we talk a little bit about music and a lot about the playoffs. So without further ado, enjoy. What's going on?
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Apologies for me wearing my sunglasses. The sun comes in at some point throughout the day and just blares into my eyes, and then
I get it. All good.
Just destroys many a Zoom meeting for me, where I'm just like,
And then are people just always asking about the glasses then?
No, see, for a lot of stuff, I will take them off. But actually, yeah, whenever I wear them, people will ask, like, what's up with these yellow glasses?
What's up with the glasses?
Hey, cool guy. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining, man.
No, thank you so much for having me. I can't tell you how much I love the premise of this podcast.
I love to hear that.
Absolutely right up my alley. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you. I feel like, it sounds strange to people who aren't into these intersections, but like the people who are, it's like a light bulb goes off and it's like, it's for me.
Yes. No, I mean, like, everyone that I've been telling it to, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going on the indie basketball podcast. They're like, it sounds like you're making this up. This is like, the exact cross-section of stuff that I am into, and I feel like no one is going to believe me until it comes out.
Right. Yeah, and, I'm such like a... Maybe it's so strong to say this as someone who does podcasts, but like I hate a lot of podcasts, and that's because I just think there is a lack of specific originality, and this is hyper specific. And I may never get quote unquote big enough to have ads and things like that. Not that I want that, but it's like that's okay because it's like about topics that are awesome.
I mean, you are preaching to the choir with, my approach to doing music at this point of, like, I am entirely making music for myself and, not even knowing if it's going to reach anyone, at least when we set out starting to record this album. But
that's the best way to do it.
For sure.
So let's talk a little music first. But before we talk about your music, I'd love to ask a tip-off question of what have you been listening to?
Lately I have been listening to the Cindy Lee album, Diamond Jubilee.
The hard to find Cindy Lee.
Yeah. The Bandcamp now only release, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it's on YouTube too.
Wasn't it originally on like GeoCities or something?
It's something like that, and then also on YouTube. But that's all to say. Like, I totally missed when that came out. Like it was not on my radar at all. And then the producer of my album, Alex Newport, was like, I think you should check this out. I think you'd be really into it. And so yeah, I have been listening to that album and just loving it, and like the sprawling nature of it, and that, like, you know, some songs are absolutely fantastic, some songs are not, I mean, they're all enjoyable, but some much stronger than others. And I don't know, I think in a way it reminds me of like, did you ever listen to Cody Chestnut, the Headphone Masterpiece? Came out a long time ago. Sort of off of that, one of the singles, The Seed, the Roots did as The Seed 2.0. But he recorded in, you know, like staying in someone's guest room or something, recorded a like 40 track album, and it's like all over the map, genre wise, and was like a very formative record for me when I was young. But yeah, the Cindy Lee album sort of reminds me of that. And then I don't know. I mean, I can keep going. I've also been on a kick of like trying to listen to the catalogs of artists that I have not listened to, and
It's always something I try to do. It's a difficult task, but
well, because it's mind blowing to have Spotify and have every album ever basically in your pocket, or, you know, albums that aren't even on Spotify, and you can just go on Bandcamp and or wherever and check them out. But so, like, I don't know, it was funny because I had been getting a lot of like, oh, your album reminds me of Nick Cave, and I have not listened to a lot of Nick Cave.
yeah.
And so I recently moved out to the desert, and it just fit the vibe. I watched a couple of Nick Cave documentaries that were really amazing, and one about the birthday party. I don't know how into music documentaries you are, but I'm obsessed with a good, you know, I try to watch every music documentary I can find. The birthday party one is awesome, but then he also made an amazing one around like 2015. Anyway, I've listened to like basically all of Nick Cave's catalog. Then I'm now going through. I mean, I tried going through all of Frank Zappa, and there was just too much. Again, just another guy where I'm like, I just have never checked out the music, and you know, lots of interesting stuff there. And then now sure. Van Morrison, who I, you know, love so many things, and love every time that like a Them song comes on, or the Them, what, like I'm just like, this is incredible, like, you know, the blueprint for all the garage rock that I love, and and trying to go through Van Morrison's. And then I was like shocked that his track one, side one, his debut album is Brown Eyed Girl, and it's like, that's pretty wild, like the very first thing that you're coming out the gate with. But yeah, that's been cool. And then
nice. I feel like I've gone through rounds of that. I feel like the latest one for me is like, you know, I've loved a lot of Talking Heads over the years, but I've never truly gone like album by album. So I started from the beginning, and like it's just such unique music. Like no one was like them, and it's just like you can really hear so many decades of influence that have followed that work.
For sure. And then I saw an amazing, you know, it's probably one of those like social media quotes that gets passed around all the time, but it was like, the word genius gets thrown around too much. There are only two people ever that I would call geniuses. One is David Byrne, and the other is the guy that first did the walking behind the couch like you're going downstairs. And if you told me that was David Byrne, I would believe you. Like,
that's funny.
The answer to both is probably David Byrne.
That's incredible. You mean Austin Powers didn't invent that? That didn't happen for the first time in that movie.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, I was David Byrne in Austin Powers. No, no, he
I
was not.
I would love to see it if he hasn't been.
Hmm.
Um, okay, yeah, awesome. So you did mention that you do have a new album. Um, is Can you kind of tell us more about it?
Yeah, so I was in a band called the Dead Ships for a number of years. That was my the very first band that I was ever in, and we were sort of a garagey, little punky indie band. And we were going strong, playing a bunch of live shows. Sort of LA sceney, just playing a bunch, and we kept going for a long time. We had a really big year. We recorded an album with Brendan Canning from Broken Social Scene, producing it. And then we got invited to play Coachella in 2016, and we had like a really big year, big touring, all this stuff, and like LA Weekly named us the best band in LA, and all these things where it felt like, okay, this could be happening for this
Sure.
band. And then sort of like very quickly, we signed with the wrong label. Uh, we had then at that point been together for like 6 or 7 years, and it very quickly went from like this trajectory of like, oh man, we're gonna be able to do this, to like, what the fuck happened. And so, sort of in the fallout of all of that, band members started moving away slowly, one by one, out of the city. We all sort of went our separate ways, and I've been, writing music every day basically throughout all of that. And I wasn't sure what was going to come next with it, and then just ended up, um, I don't know, lots of like personal turmoil things going on. My dad got diagnosed with kidney failure,
Shame.
and was put on dialysis, and it was just a very harrowing journey going through all
Yeah.
of that. And anyway, so I was writing a bunch of songs that I was getting really, really into, and then thinking, like, again, writing mainly for myself, and thinking that I may never release music again. And then eventually I started playing with a drummer, Mike Nussbaum, who's just an incredible drummer and was in other bands that my old band used to play with. And we were just really falling in love with some of these songs and really, really into it. And then it became like, okay, well, how should we go in and just try tracking a few of these, see what happens? And it really sort of organically built on this, like, well, let's just go into a studio and try to beat the demos. And I sent the songs, some of my favorite songs, to this producer, Alex Newport, who I've been friends with for a long time. And he particularly liked the vibe that I was going down, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very different than my old band, and a little more psyche, a little more dark Americana, and big orchestrated stuff. And yeah, he was really into what I was doing and wanted to track those songs. And
Amazing.
so we went out to a studio in the desert, recorded this album, and then slowly we loved, the goal going in the beginning was like, can we beat the demos with these 3 songs?
Right.
We blew those demos out of the water, and it was like, okay, well, we have to go back and record more. But then more shit just kept happening in our personal lives that dragged stuff out for so long. As we were there in our second recording session, Mike, the drummer, did his drum parts, went off. He's like a very adventure-y kind of guy, and he took up paragliding, and he was on a paragliding trip.
Oh, no.
While we're still in the desert recording, he's off on this paragliding trip, and he said he was going along, and the wind cut out, and he just plummeted 100 feet.
Oh, no.
Broke his back, was rushed to the hospital, and just
That's so scary.
It was absolutely terrifying. And like, we didn't know we were recording, and then like I started sending him stuff just like, oh man, this is sounding great. I can't wait for you to hear this. Yeah. And he's like, explained, I'm in the hospital. They think I'm gonna come out okay. Hopefully, no long-term things. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, you break your back, you think like, anyway, he'd be, after a year of rehabbing and everything, he's fully recovered, back to drumming, back to normal.
I would imagine your back is quite important when you are, playing the drums.
I mean, I can't wrap my head around how drumming works. Like, how they're able to physically
I know.
do, like, it is mind-blowing to me how anyone can do any level of drumming,
Totally.
Like,
I can keep a rhythm, I can keep time, but once you start getting that truly unique layering and stuff, then like it just there's a math equation, and I get too much ADHD, and like, how can you do this many things at once?
How do you do it? And then when you throw in some of the fills, and it's just like,
yeah,
how are you able to? Where like, yeah, I mean, if I'm going like, I can do a kick, snare,
sure.
And then throw in like,
right.
Eighth notes.
You want a metronome? I got you
on the hat. Yeah, like I can do basically that, but it's mind blowing to me what they can do. So yeah, having a broken back and having to go through that, absolutely terrifying. And just like, he's one of the kindest, nicest, just best human beings, and having him go through this, like, very, very scary. But it was quickly, like, immediately he was like, I'm not paralyzed or anything. They think I'm gonna fully recover, and it looks like I just sort of lucked out. And that was like his second paragliding fall too, and he's like, okay, I need to reevaluate this. Like, I can't put my
this is why
family
I don't do
and
adventurous things.
I mean, I don't like doing things where if the newspaper headline is like, man dies doing X, and you're like, yeah, of course that guy
don't
died
love like
doing
having
that.
my feet leave the ground, like if I'm in a plane, I get it, but like if my body is not with the ground, I'm getting worried.
I'm kind of with you on that. I don't know. I just watched The Dark Wizard on HBO. Did you watch that? About Dean Potter, the like free solo climber who
You
generally
really are a documentary head.
Oh yeah, I love any music documentaries in particular, but really any documentary.
Sure.
Super into it. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, that will not be the last documentary recommendation that I'll throw out, I'm sure.
Oh man. But I'm glad he's okay, and now the album's out, yeah.
Album's out, yeah. So we continued on. It took another year to go in and actually go finish the album, and then as soon as and then I mentioned my dad and his dialysis and all that,
Hmm.
and I kept having to go back to Illinois, where I'm from, and sort of help out, and uh, once we finished recording, I reached out to my parents and was like, "Hey, I'm done. Everything went great." My dad was in the hospital, and they didn't tell me because they knew I was out recording, and they didn't think it was going to be that serious, and they didn't want me to leave the recording, which they knew if I heard he was in the hospital, I would have done in a second. And then yeah, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and it was again a whole harrowing experience in the ICU and going on the ventilator and getting him off the ventilator and just a whole thing. And then yeah, like 2 weeks later, he passed away, and so just like I don't know, the whole journey of this album and personally, and I don't know, like I am so like wrapped up and wholly invested, not, I mean, not money wise, but like just personally in all of the emotions of this album, and it just the album means so much to me as a result of that. And
Sure.
oh, and worth mentioning, while during our last recording session, I also my girlfriend at the time came out to stay in the trailer for a few days, and we went out and got engaged while we were out there. So there is
All right.
also that,
Yeah.
there's just highs and lows, and this
Yeah.
whole mix of every possible roller coaster emotion of life
I mean, even between
wrapped
your
up into it.
first band and this album, it's like constantly being tested.
Yeah, I mean, it's never ending, but that's the way
Sure.
life goes,
Yeah.
and
Very true.
I'm sure that's probably also in some ways the story of this podcast. If you
Yeah.
had to go out and write your hero's journey for indie basketball, I'm sure it's something similar.
Yeah. Not maybe not as dramatic. But everyone's got their versions of their ups and downs and journeys, but yeah. With your music, I mean, I know you said that people have often told you that, oh, you sound like Nick Cave. Do you feel like you sound like Nick Cave, or do you feel influenced by his music at all?
Um, I said that I had not really listened to him. I had some exposure to him over the, I was aware of Nick Cave and had listened to Nick Cave, and the drummer of my old band would play Nick Cave sometimes on the road, and so I mean it's I don't know, it's not like a direct influence or anything, but listening to it, I can see how some of the songs, it's like, oh yeah, I take that as a huge compliment. I don't think anyone would be like, I hear some Nick Cave in this and mean it in a bad way. Yeah, like it's I think a very, very cool reference, and one I like. But yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't like a direct influence or
for
anything.
sure. I mean, with even telling you telling all these stories, that's all very dramatic. Nick Cave is very dramatic. I feel like it's very directly informed your
For
music, which is
sure.
pretty dramatic.
For sure. And like I think the using your sort of personal story to mythologize and then attach it to uh you know like larger things going on in the world, and sort of tying your personal tragedies to the larger cultural tragedies going on. I think that's for sure something that I've always tried to do, and I mean, I know Nick Cave does the like mythologizing because I watched a documentary about him, and he said so. But yeah, after this album was already recorded. But yeah, I mean, I'm very into, like, if that's what anyone hears in it, I love that.
Yeah. So, speaking of dramatics, basketball's pretty dramatic too.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's you know, and year over year, I feel like people have this feeling that like it's always we're entering a new era, and it's not like it used to be, but it's just different ways of dramatic. I feel like these NBA playoffs have been crazy. But like before we talk, like, you know, this kind of NBA playoff series, you're obviously on this podcast because it has been shared that you are kind of a general ball knower to an extent, and you don't really gravitate towards one team, although Clippers seem to be your squad.
Yeah, well, you know, originally from Chicago and well, suburbs of Chicago, and moved out to LA after college, and just, you know, I think by nature being a Bulls fan is really really hard, and really hard to keep up with it. And then, you know, when you move to a different city, you want to stay with some allegiance to your hometown team, but I think uh it's very easy to get swept up in the different NBA storylines that are going on, and the different players, and following different teams. And then it's also just hard to watch games, like,
It
you
really
know.
is.
And it's getting easier for sure these days.
I mean,
But
I
like,
guess I kind of sorry to interject. I
no,
do
no,
want to talk about that a little bit because that's something I did want to talk about specifically. Is I've noticed these playoffs right now. You know, knowing that NBA has these new deals with media companies, new different kind of programming, kind of parsed out between different companies. These playoffs have been pretty difficult to watch, and I mean, I am someone who unfortunately pays for all of the dumb different streaming platforms.
I'm the same way.
But, you know, I have come across instances where I'm like, I would love to go to the bar and watch a game with a friend. But a lot of bars don't have Peacock, you know? They don't. The fact that the majority of these games were not on live TV is crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, every night you have to, you know, Google which
Yeah, you need to
streaming
chart.
app is it on. Yeah, every single time, where you know, it is very frustrating. Particularly, I mean, what's funny is I have all the streaming apps, and so I'm very happy if they're on Prime or Peacock. I have to steal someone else's ESPN somehow in order to watch the ESPN games, which is sort of a new thing, that the way that I was watching it is no longer working. But no, it's very very frustrating. But I gotta say, you know, having Peacock and having Prime, it makes it easier, and I think those broadcasts are really really well done.
Sure.
You know,
I like the Prime crew.
the Prime crew is really fun. Yeah,
You know, Blake Griffin and
Udonis
Dirk
Haslam,
Dirk's done some
Steve
appearances,
Steve
yeah.
Nash coming out.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's a good crew for sure.
yeah.
But it's just like the universality. Like everyone's got their own version of the NBA, and I mean, watching, especially the playoffs, watching with other people is such a amazing communal thing that you can't really go to the bar and watch a game with your friends because you don't know if the bar is going to have the game on or if they'll even be able to.
Yeah.
In the past, you'd be able to be like, "Hey, could you turn the game on?" And it's because they have TV.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to predict now.
I think you're right. I think for me, like, NBA playoff time is next to like Christmas and the few days after. I think especially the first like two rounds of the playoffs are my absolute favorite time of year, where like you have three or four games every day. You're going from one clutch game that goes into overtime to then the next, and you have like all the feelings of March Madness and the underdogs coming up and winning
Yeah.
one game, but then all of the like development of a series and the adjustments and watching how they do that. And it is just the most thrilling couple of weeks. I mean, really the most like thrilling month or two of the year, where there's nothing that quite gets me literally jumping to my feet in my house the way that basketball does, where
Yeah.
like someone hits a big shot and you're just like, the just jubilation that explodes from it is unparalleled.
Wemby half court buzzer beater.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely insane. Well, and then there are the storylines that develop in the playoffs are so fascinating, and like you have to watch every game because you don't know who's going to make it to the conference finals. And like, you know, last year, an amazing example where like I had no interest in the Indiana Pacers. I watched every Pacers game and was just like, oh my God, they are my favorite team right now. And getting to watch them develop so that you really care and are really invested by the time the conference finals comes along.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And I mean, like the Cavs this year, and really, I don't know, I had watched a lot of Spurs and OKC. And I love that, like, this year, I feel like more than any other year in the last, like, decade, it feels like we actually have the two best teams going at it, and really, like,
Yeah.
the two best teams in each conference, where every other season it feels like injuries play such a big role, and, like, oh my God, we're not going to get a full Denver squad, or we're not going to get, like, you know, the year that Denver won, I can't remember all the injuries that happened. You know, of course, the Clippers with Kawhi being such a question mark and being out,
Yeah.
always devastating. But this year, it actually feels like, okay, these are the best two teams. But then again, you know, I think because I'm kind of an OKC hater, it doesn't.
We all are these days.
Yeah. It doesn't quite register to me that, like, well, Jalen Williams is not at full power, and he's, I mean, all respect to SGA, Jalen Williams is probably the best player on that team. Like,
He's probably he makes more of a direct impact. You know, he may not be leading in the stat lines, but his impact on the team kind of similar to like an OG Anunoby on the Knicks.
yeah,
Like you're not going to do well if you're missing him, even if he's not leading in your stat categories.
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I thought he was going to win Finals MVP last year, the way it was
Sure.
going. And I mean, sad that, like, you know, he was playing injured through that Finals, and he's still recovering from it. Like, he's still dealing with the fallout from it. But yeah, but in general, it feels like the closest we've come to having the four best teams left and getting to see them actually battle it out is great.
I am beginning to doubt a little bit of that after how the
How
Cavs
the Cavs
performed in this series, but
Yeah.
I guess that's based on that Knicks Cavs series. Do you think that the Knicks are that good, or is the East just that bad?
I mean, I don't think you can ever go wrong saying that the East is just that bad. I mean, the East has been pretty bad for like 20 years, basically. The lesser conference for sure, but But I do think that this Knicks squad, especially with the way that OG has been playing, I think that they have a real shot against whichever team comes out of the West.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
and is there a better, more reliable? I mean, I guess there are a couple, but Jalen Brunson is among the best number one, especially like clutch. If you just need one basket, I'm totally fine going with Jalen Brunson versus
For sure.
anyone else in the league. Um, and I don't know, they're just so fun, and I mean, last night played so fast.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Over the last, they haven't lost in 8 games or 7 games.
11.
What, 11? That's insanity.
11 straight.
That's insanity.
It's, you can thank Danhausen for the curse. I mean, that's what's going on here. Is New York's often, or honestly, rarely on the end of being uncursed. I feel like Knicks are so often cursed in their history.
Yeah, I mean,
which as a Cubs fan, I understand that. So,
God, yeah. I don't know. I do feel bad for Dante DiVincenzo
yes.
for missing out on all the fun.
But
Villanova
boys get cast aside.
Yes,
he's the outcast.
That commercial was hilarious. But they also would not be able to do this without Cat on the squad.
Absolutely.
And so,
and Mitchell Robinson's been awesome. That's another, alternate reality is if Mitchell Robinson's hurt, are they able to do this? Because I think both the series right now, the big men are proving to be still very important.
For sure. Yeah.
Wemby, Cat, and Mitchell Robinson, you got to have a really good big. And the Cavs do. They have Jared Allen and Mobley, but it's just they're not playing like strong centers.
I mean, is there anything more sort of tragic in these playoffs than, I mean, the performance of James Harden? And I don't know who called out the Barkley did at some point, but who came up with the stat of he has, however many number of games with more turnovers than field goals. And just the most devastating encapsulation of James Harden's playoff, follies. But James Harden, and then Evan Mobley, who has so much promise, and you just want him to take the leap to the next level.
He's taking little micro leaps, little hops, not like a full next step. And he is getting better, but very slowly.
Last night was a really big stumble where, just not taking care of the ball at all.
So many turnovers.
Just, I don't know. It's heartbreaking. And I don't know. I mean, we can talk about centers. We can talk about but the other thing that it reminded me of is just this feeling that I get in the playoffs of just this. I want so badly for some of these guys to take a leap to the next level.
Yeah.
Where I think about it all the time, but that run that Jimmy Butler had with the Heat a couple of years ago, where it's just he's just going to take over this game and they are not going to lose. And you need Anthony Edwards to get to that level.
I really wanted him to.
I want him to so bad every year. It's is this going to be the time?
One game.
Yeah.
One game. He's he dropped 35. And I'm you need to drop 30 every game.
Yeah, that's the only way that they're going to ensure that they move on to the next round. And you're watching and just hoping so badly that it happens. And then there will be a stretch of 4 minutes where it seems like he doesn't touch the ball, or he gets it and he's passing out of it. And I know they started doubling him, but that's when
he had a knee problem. He had some injury lingering, but
for sure. But like that's that's the difference between guys that then become the like legendary best players of an era are the guys that like, oh, the double's coming, I'm gonna find a way to still score against that. And like, yeah, my knee's messed up, that's where you then get the knee game or whatever. Where it's like, oh shit, and then he still dropped 40 with a bad knee and being doubled, and like that's of course it's insane to hope that like True. This guy becomes Michael Jordan for 3 weeks. But
he has his son, so
yeah, I mean, I do also remember that claim against Jimmy Butler, or for Jimmy Butler, of like the how many children does Michael Jordan have out there?
Right. I also think back too to the bubble where you had Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell going head to head with some of the best games in that playoff series, and now I know Mitchell has kind of come back down to earth with the Cavs a little bit, but and Jamal Murray to that. I
mean, playoff Murray
it was a great moment in time.
Yeah, bubble Murray and playoff Murray, I feel like are very real. And side note, but I've always felt that the NBA does not get enough credit for 2020 and for the way that they handled everything.
People look back fondly of the bubble. Like, I remember people talking like it's like AAU basketball tournaments, like it had a different feeling. And like even when we talk about Murray and Mitchell, it's like I remember like them having that game where they're going toe to toe, and then like the next day on Instagram you see like Murray taking a video of Mitchell because they're stuck together.
Yeah. But like, I don't know if you felt this way in the same way, but like the NBA made COVID real, where like, I mean, my now fiance and we were supposed to go on this trip to Spain on like March 14th of 2020, and up until the day we were gonna leave, we were like, I think this is gonna blow over. It seems like this is gonna be okay. We're gonna do this, and then all of a sudden, the NBA canceled all games, postponed everything, and it was like, holy shit, I think this is
Damn
real.
You, Gobert.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert, patient zero. But like that, and then the bubble. And like figuring out a way to come back, and it was such a like sports event, and then I mean I think it was also coming off the heels of The Last Dance, which was the the entire
the COVID
world.
ritual watch.
Yes, the Tiger King Part 2. But
the bubble, honestly, like you said, props to them because they were kind of the first to do that sort of like, well, we're all just going to stay here. And that became like a staple for like productions and all things like that, where they're like, yeah, we're all just going to stay here. And I feel like the NBA is like forced to be the first one to do that.
Yeah. And like they were, while in the bubble, like the way they responded to George Floyd also gave a sort of, this is how you can handle a situation like this, where they they recognize the gravity of the situation, of the moment, and they also postponed those games. They then came back and they're like, however you guys want to do it, we're open. And they're like, we can put messages on the court, you can put messages on your jersey, and that also then spread to other leagues. And they're not necessarily like changing the world with doing that, but it is like the kind of acknowledgement that like there's no way David Stern's doing that. There's no way that like the NFL would have followed suit the way they did if the NBA didn't lead the way on it. And
MLB definitely wouldn't have. So
no, and I just think
I feel like I think the hard part too is knowing how much Adam Silver has kind of changed a little bit since then, and I feel like he has not been maybe the best commissioner in how he's handled things like these streaming deals and things like that. And he seems less, he is still kind of a players commissioner, but he is kind of less of the audience commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My feeling on it, I feel like, is different than the general audience, where like I'm not really paying attention to like how the ratings are doing and how the
That's
league
fair.
is. You know what
No
I mean?
sane
Where
person
like
should.
and like you know, I see reports of how the NBA is struggling and you know, stuff about tanking and everyone's upset about that. But like I don't know, the Adam Silver has brought in so many incredible things. The play-in tournament is
It's finally getting there. Yeah.
the play-in
I didn't
tournament
care at
is
first.
amazing. Oh yeah,
like
I
it
mean
now.
the first year it was a little weird, but like getting that March Madness one game feeling is really really cool and extends the playoffs in a great way.
Agreed.
And then you know I think acknowledging the All-Star game, the problems with the All-Star game. I don't think they've figured it out,
No.
but I appreciate that they are taking steps to,
Sure.
you know, to try.
Yeah, agreed. So we talked about Knicks and Cavs. What do you think about the other series? I mean, it's pretty locked up, and by the time this episode gets, well, you know, that'll have changed. But I mean, I personally am a huge Spurs fan. I'm definitely rooting for them over the Thunder, and I know you've already said that you are kind of anti OKC, as many of us are.
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to net out?
You know, I'm hoping so hard that the Spurs pull it out. You know, there was a play early on in game one where I think Wemby either blocked or made them adjust enough that it didn't go in, where Hartenstein has that little floater from, and not realizing how essential to OKC's game that Hartenstein to why am I drawing a blank on his name? The Chet, thank you. The Hartenstein to Chet connection of that like high-low game that they do is like so essential to how OKC's offense works. And like if Hartenstein can't hit that little floater because he's got a 7'5" guy there, then I think it just causes so many specific problems to their offense that, you know, but like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh well, man, the Spurs really do have a shot at this. And I mean, they beat them in the series throughout the season, right? So of course they did, but
Yeah, and I did see, you know, there was a kind of an article that came out that, you know, Coach Pop kind of came in before, what is it, game 4, and he kind of talked shit to him. You know, he's like, you guys are not playing like you should be, and that sort of thing. Give him a pep talk, and you know, I feel like we can see the fruits of that in game 4. Wemby just is locked into another level. I think he's channeling that off-season monk energy.
yeah, and I mean, talk about that hope that you have for Anthony Edwards or anyone else to take that stride to reach the next level. Wemby is absolutely doing it night after night, where, you know, like that 3 that he hit in game 1, where like if that doesn't go in, we have a whole different perception of this series, and potentially of Wemby's entire career trajectory could change because he hit that 30-foot shot.
He created a mythos. You know, like he mythologized himself in that moment.
yeah. It's really really incredible to see. And yeah, I mean, I just I think I hate OKC for a whole myriad of reasons. And I mean, there are players on there that I, of course, think are phenomenal, and SGA, some of the shots that he hits are it's really amazing. But
well, the SGA flop talk is rampant, and I think people are finally, I had defended him for a long time, and he is a great player. He still is, no doubt. And I think now that I'm watching him on a daily basis, pretty much, I'm like, oh yeah, he does this all the time.
See, I don't
tough.
I don't mind the flopping, and I view it as just like super crafty. Like, I love James Harden, especially in his prime, of the ability to get to the free throw line. I have no problem with that. The problem that I have with OKC is you can't have Dort and Caruso mugging people on one end, and then you're not able to even touch SGA on the other end. It's like, how can a team play that way? Like, how can a team beat that?
I mean, there's literally that shot where they replayed it where SGA goes up and Fox is like standing there not touching him, and he falls, and they call a foul on it. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's totally crazy. And but I think the refs have been doing a better job in this series of calling it as equally both sides as we've seen it.
He's not getting 30 free throw shots a game.
But don't you think that is also why, like last year, they were like statistically the greatest team of all time, offense and defense rating wise, whatever it was. But then in the playoffs, they looked entirely beatable and would have probably lost to Indiana if Halliburton didn't go down.
True.
But I think a big part of that is the way that the refs call fouls in the playoffs, where they're going to let you play more, and you're not going to get the same treatment that you do in the regular season.
I think for a while, Brunson and SGA were in the similar field of like, oh, they're just foul baiting to get to the line. And I think since this narrative kind of gathered more towards SGA, Brunson has backed off a little bit, and he's not really doing as much flopping as he used to. However, I would be saddened a bit to see that them go head-to-head in the finals and see what happens if they're both just like, let's try and get to the line. Because no one wants to see that.
No one wants to see that. But as far as like, the NBA is more interesting if the Knicks are good, and I feel like a Knicks OKC or a Knicks Spurs final, I think is gonna do well nationally and get a lot of interest. And
no matter who the Knicks play, I think it will get a lot of eyes.
Yeah,
and I would love it if it was Wemby though.
God, me too. Just for like the legacy, it's insane. And I mean, I don't know. I have felt for a long time that you also being a Chicago guy, I wonder if you have the similar feelings of like the LeBron versus Jordan GOAT debate of just feeling like LeBron is firmly the second greatest player of all time. And I think he is incredible, and I do not want to talk any shit about LeBron. I think he's the second greatest player ever. You know what I mean?
He's amazing, and any reasoning cannot be towards stats or anything like that. It's purely MJ stays there because of the emotional connection to what the city went through.
The emotional connection, and going back to that thing of the level that you he's lost too many times in the finals for me
Yeah.
to,
Jordan
and
never
and
lost in the
not
finals.
yeah, and not from a like purely like the number of rings
Yeah.
matter, just like the level that you have to go to like not lose those games, I think is crazy. But anyway, that's all to say that I think Wemby um has the opportunity to, like, you look at him and you're like, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you even quantify his impact? And like the stuff that he does where you're like, yeah, this isn't even basketball at some point. Like,
He
what
is
are
literally
you
the Monstars.
Yes, like it's totally crazy. But I think if anyone is ever to surpass Jordan on the mantle of greatest player of all time, it's going to be someone who is so clearly just dominant that it
Yeah.
seems unfair, where it's like, well, yeah, but he's he's the greatest, but like
Hmm.
it's just too unfair. But that's the way that it felt for most of basketball in the 90s, of like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, Jordan is just on a whole nother level. It's not
Right.
even
Right.
fair. And so yeah, I'm also very vested in Wemby reaching that next level. And yeah, year 3 and he's doing this.
Yeah. And I don't want to put anything out into the ether, but it would be a miracle if he goes his whole career without any crazy injuries, because
It's
that body, like, if like physiologically cannot operate like this.
it's so scary every time he
Yeah.
goes down. It
Yeah.
it really is so scary every time he goes down.
All right. So, what's your final prediction for the finals?
Um Winner or who's going to make it there?
Just let's get the winner
Um I will say Spurs in 6
over the
over
Knicks.
the
Okay.
Knicks, yeah.
Okay. I want to believe that's true. You know what? I won't be upset if the Knicks win. Like, it's been a long time. As insufferable as some of the fans can be sometimes, they have suffered themselves. So I am all for getting it out of the way. Wemby
Yeah,
will be
no.
here for a while, but I would love him to win.
So is that your prediction for the finals?
I could see. I'll be disappointed, but I could see. I mean, I think this year's will go 7, Spurs and Thunder, and my hope is, yes. I want to see. I think 6 or 7 games in the finals. I could see the Knicks pulling it off, and this isn't. I think it's just because people are actually underestimating. I think they're taking their 11 straight wins, which is insane, as just the East sucks, but they are good. And when you watch them play, they are very good, and they're a really well balanced team with a lot of depth.
They're winning by like 40 points. Like they're not.
Winning by 40 points in the playoffs is just, it's done. It shouldn't happen. So, like, there's clearly something going on, and maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe the East is bad, but they are a good team. So who knows?
Yeah. I think.
All right, go ahead.
No. Well, no. I was just gonna say. I think there's also a little. I don't know. I feel bad for Coach Tibbs. For so the Knicks' success, I think there's also a part of me that doesn't want them to win, to honor Coach Tibbs. But no, I would love to see. It'd be really, really great to see the Knicks win a championship.
Definitely, and even if the city of New York goes a little crazy for a little bit. So if you have time, the last thing I would love to do is a little game called Build a Band. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you would make a band entirely from NBA players. And give them assign instruments to players and whatnot. Let's see what it sounds like.
I have struggled with this quite a bit.
It's tough.
because there are so many different directions you can go. And my like first inclination of thinking this out, um, I realized I would not want to listen to that band. And so I then revised, and I think frontman, we brought him up a few times, but like I want someone cool with artistry, that has a super compelling story, and someone that I find incredibly watchable, and or listenable. But frontman, I gotta go Ant Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it's also got to be someone who can take on the role of a number one, and also with some flaws,
Totally.
and just a very very interesting figure. Ant
Great mic
Edwards.
skills. Like he's not afraid to say whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. I love the edge, and then drums. I think drummers are such freak athletes, and so I would want the sort of most athletic, most I don't know, a sort of defensive backbone, and so I'm going Amen Thompson on the drums.
Ooh, yes.
Um, I
I think
think.
that's the first time he's been put in a band for this.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
perfect drummer. He's also got
yeah,
like there's something a little off about him, and I don't know what it is.
sure.
Like, and it might just be that my interpretation of them. Like, I think I heard once that because they didn't go the traditional college route.
Hmm.
I can't. They did that like whatever that other league was.
G League Ignite.
Was that what it was?
I mean, that is the other route where it's like you just play in
Yeah.
the G League
Okay.
for a year,
Yeah.
or you go overseas.
But there's something like homeschooled about feeling about the Thompson brothers.
Huh?
Yeah, but and then guitar, uh, I I also struggled with this a lot. But I love a band where you have a sort of a competition between the between two figures trying to write songs for the band. And so for me, it's like I want a sort of uh, someone on guitar who wants to be number one or thinks they're number one, but they're not. And for a variety of reasons, they just can't get there. And so I was gonna go Stefan Castle on lead guitar,
All right.
um, who flashes of just
Yeah.
brilliance and explosiveness, and uh, you know, but like, and legitimately out there thinks that they're the number one option and should be the number one option, but very on the Spurs he is not.
Sure.
And close second, I was debating Ja Morant,
Similar play
for
style. Yeah.
similar play and the explosiveness and the excitement, super dynamic. And then on the bass, I want someone super solid who is quietly the most important person on the floor. And I think you need someone very cool and consistent and aware of what everyone else is doing, and making their impact, but quietly and confidently. And so on the bass, I would go Jalen Williams. Uh,
Hmm.
also
Feel that. Yeah.
debated also debated Kawhi Leonard, and I
Yes.
think the massive hands also
Yes.
make a big
If
difference.
he's not using a pick, he can't. He's got to play the bass with his fingers.
Absolutely, and it sort of, I didn't want to say Kawhi because it just felt like I'm now just naming like an all-star team, and I don't want to pick
It's fair.
all, whereas Jalen Williams, I feel like put him on any team, he immediately makes him better and will fit in. And then I think you need a like keys, percussion, vocalist, backing vocals, multi-instrumentalist, sort of five-tool player that can hold down everything. Like, that's always great to have in a band. And then I was also looking at the squad and being like, well, I could really use another big guy. And so I'm going Bam Adebayo for the sort of catch-all for everything else.
Yeah. I love the multi-instrumentalists. He will never be able to live up to scoring 83 points.
Who could?
People don't. It's so crazy. Someone scores 83 points and people just don't care.
Yeah. At the time, the day after, people cared in a very negative way, I feel like. And
because he shot like 40 free throws or something, I think.
And they were, really gunning to give him as many opportunities as they could, and I don't know. I thought it was incredible, and I love Bam.
But I love that thought of let's just put him behind the keys.
Well, he can do it all. He's gonna fill in whatever we need. He's gonna play shaker on some tracks. He's
he's got the tambourine out on when it's needed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid band. Is there like a real world comp that this sounds like to you?
That I don't know. I mean, the keys, percussion stuff, I think if you take that away, to me, that band feels a little Strokesy to me.
Sure. Until you added that, I was hearing Interpol.
Yeah,
like that's what it was to me.
Yeah, Strokes are Interpol, and then the multi-instrumentalist I think throws off that
that's
vibe
okay.
quite a bit.
That's what makes them unique.
Yeah, but yeah, the first time that I was thinking about this, I like got to the end and I'm like, this sounds like Boston or something, and I'm like, I don't think I want to go with like Boston or Steely Dan or like one of these like 70s 80s bands that people love and that are incredible, but that I'm never gonna listen to. And like with Jokic as the front man, and I'm just like
the indifferent front man.
Yeah, I mean, very, very cool, but and interesting for a lot of reasons, but like I just, that band does not make me nearly as excited as Anthony Edwards leading the charge.
When you threw Amin Thompson in there, I really thought you were also going to add Alsar Thompson and get kind of that Desner, the national kind of vibe going, or like Radiohead. You got to have the siblings in a band.
Yeah, the siblings in a band would actually be really cool. And like, it's awesome when you have a group that has two drummers. Have both of them out there just crushing it.
Two drummers instantly is prog heavy.
yeah. But also like, all of those, or a lot of those old Motown and Stax like old soul records would have, or Phil Spector would have dual drummers. And
awesome.
But yeah, how do you rate that band?
That's a good band. I feel like Anthony Edwards does get tossed into lead singer a good amount, as well as Jimmy Butler, but that's because obviously you look at the NBA, like those guys have lead singer energy. That's just what it is.
I
There's a
debated
reason for
Jimmy
that.
Butler as well. Like, just super, super cool. Like, yeah.
Charismatic people, yeah.
Charismatic, seems a little eccentric.
For sure.
You know, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, man.
Thanks so much
it's
for
been
having me.
Amazing talking about playoffs. And is there anything with the band you kind of want to throw out there for people?
I hope people check out the album Devlin The Harm. I hope they check out some of the videos, and we've got some live shows coming up, but haven't quite announced anything yet. And then we're figuring out how to hopefully go on tour eventually. And but yeah, I just hope people check out the album.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. It's been great.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you so much. This is amazing.
All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks again, Devlin, for coming on. It was great talking playoffs with you. If you want to support indie basketball, we're at patreon.com/indie basketball. Support there goes a long, long way to helping us make more half-court sessions, to get more merch, which I plan on doing in the near future. Half-court sessions are underway. Our first recording is this weekend. We're going to have some really, really fun ones this summer. So if you want to help us get it done, patreon.com/indie basketball. This is episode 99, which is pretty crazy that I've done 99 episodes. So that means our next episode is 100. And I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised with who guest 100 is. I wanted to make sure it was a special one. So make sure you listen to that one, because it's going to be a really, really, really cool guest, and I think a lot of you will enjoy. But that's going to be it for this episode. Make sure you check back for the next one. Follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky. Join our Discord. Join the conversation. It's a great group. But thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you at the next one.